Okay, so I'm making this video. Oh, here we go. Alright. So I'm making this part of the video for YouTube to be like, hey, he's using other people's content. I talked to Mr. Ballen. I'm going to show you the Twitter. Oh, I'm shaking a little bit. Hold up. That he said I could use his videos in the background. So before you go and ban me, look at the facts. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I got receipts. Don't mess with my channel, please. Thank you. Hopefully your algorithm doesn't ban me or do something dumb. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, enjoy. And first, also, I'm going to show you the tweets from, or X's, I don't know what the hell you call it, from Mr. Ballen giving me permission to use his videos. So, yeah. So here it is, YouTube. Just in case you think I'm lying, I said to Mr. Ballen, this is a Twitter, not something I made up. Hi, I was wondering if it was still cool with me having your audio from your vids in the background and me kind of reacting to them, not going to hashtag you in it, because I feel like that's kind of scumbag-ish. But I will give you a shout out and definitely mention you. Mr. Ballen replies, sounds good. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. Still, I know I asked you like a year ago for a year and some change. I think it was before you hit like 5 million for sure. Again, thank you very much. And then he also replied, no, sorry, I said something else. What the hell did I say? Oh, I gotta say you're the man. I get likes from Kevin Smith. But yeah, Kevin Smith liked one of my you seem to be a very busy man. Unfortunately, I cannot DM you, so if you don't mind just saying hi in a DM, I can hopefully impress you enough so you would take me under your wing and we can make movies. I don't know why he hearted that. I mean, he's a busy man, so I mentioned that about Kevin Smith. Come on, Kevin. And Mr. Ballen replied, haha, sweet dude, I appreciate it. So I got clearance from Mr. Ballen to use his videos in the background. So YouTube, I don't need to be banned over anything stupid, okay? Just want to make this clear. Alright? Alright. Okay. So, testing. Hello, 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 hello. What's going on? Yeah, screw it. What's going on, YouTube? It's Trevors. I got to give a shout out to Mr. Ballen. Talked to him on Twitter, and I asked him, if I can use his videos in the background while I am recording my videos or live streaming. So it's just not dead air, I'm looking at his playlist, and he has one that's 2021 Halloween Scare-a-thon, 6 videos. Let's check that out real quick. Whoa, they are long. Longer than my video will be. So, let's go to Celebrity. 25 minutes, 20 minutes. We are going to watch... Well, I'm going to watch. You guys are going to listen if you want. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey. God damn it. Skip. Okay, one I never said for you to play.
Backstories of 3 very famous people, and the last one has a very
He had a
satisfying ending. But before we get into today's stories,
deplorable set of skills. Come on.
Three little known
Top 3 celebrity secrets.
of three very
2 years ago.
and the last one
Thank you, Mr. Ballen, for letting me use your videos.
But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan
On
of
that
strange,
note,
dark, and mysterious,
this video that I'm
story
making
format, then you come to the right place
is...
because that's all we do, and we upload two
Okay,
or 3
I
times
don't
a
want to
week.
also
So
have
if
to
that's of you,
go
please
over
don't
his
miss the like
voice
button
either.
for Truth Buffs
So,
with Stanley Nichols. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on
there we go.
notifications
Alright,
so you don't miss any
I'm doing a classic run. Got my team set up. I want to get his power gen boost as high as quick, right?
In 1971, a 19
We got Raiden, we know what he's about. And Liu Kang, we kind of know what he's about. This piece of equipment is really awesome. It sets him on fire, which gives him that ability for his second special attack. So, alright. I feel like the first 5 matches isn't even worth recording because it's just, you know, total annihilation. Now Mr. Ballen can speak higher than me because...
which was to become a school teacher. He had always admired his school teachers growing up, and he idolized his 2 siblings that had become teachers, and so it felt like the right fit. And so William applied to a 4-year teaching college in Newcastle in England, and after he was accepted, he flew to England, he got set up, and then he began his studies. The first
I love, yeah, Mr. Ballen's videos are so dope.
This is the right fit, and he's getting good grades, everything was going
and he's a cool dude, man. Like, seriously.
and everything went off the rails. A requirement to graduate from this 4-year teaching college was all the aspiring teachers starting
And he's from what I know, he's from my neck of the
real
woods.
lessons. They basically had to go to high schools and elementary schools and fill in for the real teacher and give a real lesson. And they were scored on their ability to do that. But all the aspiring teachers knew that when you gave these real lessons to real students, what really ended up happening was the students did not take the aspiring teachers seriously. They viewed them as kind of like substitute teachers, and so they didn't respect them and they didn't listen to them. And so typically these real teaching sessions just turned into the aspiring teachers.
Yeah, being disrespected kind of sucks.
To get them to listen to their lesson plan for just 1 second. But normally it didn't work out, and before long the day was over and nothing was really accomplished. So
yeah, I was an asshole to substitute teachers.
Turn to go over to a high school and administer his lesson plan, he went over there knowing what he was up against. He did not really expect it to go well. But he decided he would go in there with a positive attitude and he would try to do his best. But as soon as he walked into his classroom, he immediately could tell he was going to be overwhelmed. Everybody's standing up and talking amongst themselves, and they turn around and they see William walking in, and they have this moment of realization that their real teacher is not going to be teaching them that day. It's going to be this substitute.
All hell breaks loose.
They gleefully began laughing and joking, and they just turned their backs on William and kept talking amongst themselves. And so William goes inside, he puts his stuff on the desk, and he attempts to get the class to listen to him by saying, "Hey everyone, come on, sit down, time to listen up, I'm your new teacher for the day." But the kids just were not listening.
What would you do if you were a substitute and they were just...
He was 6'4", he was in great shape.
What would I do?
And then yelled at the class, "Sit down right now." And at this, the class did turn around and looked at William and kind of sized him.
I think I'd take 2 of those, you know, those big ass books and just smash them together as hard as I could to make a big clap.
And sits down, except for one kid. It was this 15-year-old boy who was at the back of the room, and he was standing up, defiant, with his arms crossed, staring at William.
Yeah, see, I was that asshole, the defiant douchebag that's standing.
William and laughing at him, knowing that a conversation was about to ensue.
No, they just kicked me out of the classroom. They're like, "Go home." I'm like, "Yep, no problem."
This kid is just mean mugging him with his arms crossed.
Not saying that's the cool thing to do. I was a total douche when I was younger.
Over his shoulder and says, "You need to go out in the hallway right now. I will meet you out there." And then William turned around and started walking back towards the front of the room, expecting this to have worked, that this 15-year-old kid would have just followed right along and he'd walk right out to the hallway and that would be that. But when he turned back around again, the 15-year-old kid had not moved. He was still standing in the back of the classroom, arms crossed, staring up at William, basically saying, "Make me." And at this, William lost his...
All right, I got...
so mad and so frustrated.
Hold up. So, Speaking of school, there was one time. Yeah, I was a shithead in school, but I also like I didn't pick fights, but I was always taught, don't start fights, but finish them. And I remember this kid, he was picking on. It was when like middle school had like turned into like 6th grade to 8th grade. That's how it is in the States. So there was this little kid and someone in my grade was picking on him. I'm like, dude, why don't you pick on someone your own size? Like, like he goes, like what, like you? And I was never one to shy away from a fight. I was always down. So I was like, yeah, like me. And right there, I figured I was gonna fight him. He's like, oh, we're gonna fight after school, after the dance. I'm like, whatever. So, uh, and you got to think that dance is on usually like on a weekend. So I had to wait like a couple of days or whatever. I honestly didn't give a shit. Left, didn't care. But I'm also not gonna show up. I'm showing up to this fight. So it was at a Friendlies, and there's tons of kids, literally from high school to middle school. I'm walking up to meet this kid, and everyone's circling around. I get punched in the back of the head. I turn around, not to be racist, but there was a bunch of Mexicans being like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'll get my ass kicked if I try to fight them. So I was like, I'm going to take that, and I'm going to just put it on this kid that I'm going to fight. So I go to fight this kid, and he swings at me, and it looks so slow. So I just, move my head back. He swings again. So slow again. Move my head back. Then I jabbed him in the nose. He grabbed his nose, and I was like, dumb move. Because now I'm just going to fucking swing with everything I got. So as I go to just, basically just beat the shit out of him, a cop, whoop, whoop. And I'm like, I'm out. So I ran. This is where kind of school comes back into it. So I get sent to the principal's office. The kid's sitting there waiting to see a principal as well. And I'm just like, what up, bitch? And I just keep walking. And there was an in-school suspension, and this guy's little, but he was like a correctional officer at a juvenile detention. So he thought he was like some big tough guy. He was a little dude too. He had definitely a Napoleon complex. Only if I knew that phrase or knew that when I was younger, that's what I would have said to this teacher. The teacher saw him sucker punch me. And the teacher grabs me, and I'm dragging this dude. Because the kid backed up, like, so there's this, it's about, I don't know, he sucker punched me. The teacher grabbed me, pulled me back, and then I just started walking with the teacher, dragging him. But we had a sped class, and I was, of course, in the sped class. We had this teacher, Mr. Dovis. He was jacked, huge. And I'm dragging this kid, or the teacher, and I'm gonna beat the hell out of this kid. He sucker punched me, and no, I wasn't having it. So I started just dragging the teacher. Then Mr. Dovis, luckily, he's coming around the corner. He sees me dragging the teacher. Mr. Dovis grabs me, literally picks me up, throws me aside, tells me to get back in the classroom. I'm like, no, screw that. He literally, and then he has to go back, drags me further, throws me in the classroom, tells me to sit down and shut up. I'm like, this is bullshit. And he's like, just shut up. And he goes back, and I wait, and I wait. I don't even know what happened after that, but that in-school suspension teacher, he was a little prick. Obviously, he liked this kid, Dan, more than me. I did not respect him. He was an asshole. He was. Mr. Dovis I liked. And anyway, Mr. Dovis, he comes back, and I'm like, so I'm in trouble? I didn't even hit anyone. I didn't do anything wrong. He's like, no, you're not in trouble. Just sit down and shut up. And I'm like, all right, fine. And later on in life, not that much later, I would say high school, my second year of freshman year, Dan Frank, I don't think he knew it was my house because like I had a bunch of people hanging out. He was there. Shit, probably shouldn't have said his last name. How many Dan Franks could there be in a world? Anyways, fuck it. I mean, we're good now. But so, anyways, he's at my house. And like in high school, we wrestled all the time. Like that's all what we did. We would wrestle. Like, and I don't mean like WWE. Like, basically, who could ever get someone in a chokehold first and someone taps, it's done. Once in a while, we would put on gloves and box. That's about it. So I saw him. I'm like, dude, let's wrestle. Like, let's fucking, I remember him sucker punching me back in, middle school. I punched him once. Let's do it. He did something very smart. He got behind me, grabbed me, and started running backwards. As he did that, my leg twisted, and I pulled something, and I fell. And there wasn't anything I could do. So my leg is like fucked up at this point. So I tapped, and my friend's sitting there laughing, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna kick your ass. And he's my friend Craig, who is now dead. He's laughing. He's like, you can't even stand up. How are you gonna kick someone's ass? He's just laughing. And yeah, no. After that, we smoked. We were chill. We were fine. My leg was fucked up for a couple of days. I don't know what happened. Like it twisted the wrong way as he was pulling me back. It was kind of interesting how he did it. I wasn't expecting that. But I mean, like with wrestling, you can't punch them. We're not trying to punch each other. It's trying to get each other in holds or basically choke them out. That's what I did. That's always what I went for, is some type of chokehold. And yeah, no, it was interesting. So that's my story of one time, just one little incident where if that cop didn't show up, I would have fucked him up bad. Yeah, absolutely. I know I would have. Like he grabbed his nose. His chin is free, and I'm like, I checkmate. That cop. Maybe it's a good thing. I mean, if he would have came home with a broken jaw, I would have probably got arrested. Put in juvie myself. So who knows? And like I said, me and him later on, we're okay. We don't have any beef. There's no problem. Nowadays, I feel like when it comes to school or fights, everyone's about guns and knives, and it's like, why? I mean, you win a fight, you lose a fight. Who cares? Your ego might be hurt for a day or two. Get over it. You win some, you lose some. That's life. That's pretty much life in general. You win sometimes, you lose sometimes. Take the good with the bad. Just because I was a douchebag, I'm not saying I was cool. That was just me. I was kind of a dick. But if someone showed me respect, I would also show them respect. And wrestling, that was just fun. Something to do, something to pass time, get stoned and wrestle. There's another way. It doesn't have anything to do with school. There was this big ass kid, James. He was huge. He's actually in prison now for doing some really messed up things. But he was really tall, 6 something, and just big. Not muscle, but just big. And he used to be very timid. But somehow, I don't know, I guess he grew some balls or something. I don't know. So one time, me and him are wrestling, and I remember him grabbing me in a front chokehold and started lifting me up off the ground. I hear my neck go crack, crack. So I climb, I take my feet, I kind of climb up him. I grab his head put it under my arm, and lock my arms. As I did that, with all my strength, I just squeezed as hard as I could. He let go of me instantly. Then he dropped down. And I was in rage. Because of like the crack, crack, crack. I should have tapped, but no. No, no, no. That wasn't happening. So I wanted to hear his neck crack as much as mine did. Crack, crack, crack. And my friend Craig, that was there, his girlfriend, a few other people, I forget exactly who, but he's on his knees and I'm lifting him up and I just want to hear the crack. Heard one crack, trying to get the second crack. People are trying to literally pull me off of him. And they got me off of him. And I said, if he ever tried anything like that again, I was going to kill him. Kind of wish I did. Now, why? Why do I wish that? Well, this kid, James, later on in life, held a 10-year-old girl and the mother hostage, beat them, and molested them for days. I mean, I'm not, I that was like a few years ago. He's in prison right now, I think. I hope he stays in prison. Like, yeah, I hope he's in there for the rest of his life. He's a fucking scumbag. I kind of wish I did kind of, but how would I know that he would be like that? Behind closed doors, you never know who someone truly is. So, anyways, yeah, back to Mr. Ballen. School days. Some of them are fun, some not so much.
Unbelievably disrespectful this kid was being, and really the whole class was being to him, that he just kind of lost it. And he ran up to this kid in the back of the room and he gets right up in his face. And remember, William is 6'4". He's a big guy. And he gets right in the kid's face and he's like, "Get out in the hall right now." And this kid doesn't flinch. Instead, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a knife and he holds it right up against William. And William, without any hesitation, stands up
What?
and blast this kid across the side of the head,
Yeah.
sending him flying over a kid sitting at a desk. He goes flying over this kid and crumples into the corner. And then when he stands up, he drops the knife and puts his hands up. And he's like, "Okay, okay, I'll go out in the hall." And William's like, Go out in the hall right now." And so the kid ran out of the classroom. He goes out into the hall, and the whole class is totally.
See what I'm saying about this knife shit?
William, they're all kind of just looking down at their desk, trying to be as quiet as possible. And William
Oh
walks
no.
up to the front of the class and proceeds to teach the rest of the lesson. As soon as the high school learned that this aspiring teacher, William, had basically knocked out one of their students, even though it seemed like it might have been a little bit deserved,
It was definitely deserved.
The teachers' college, and the teachers' college immediately expelled William. And so now William is suddenly jobless and he's kind of lost
What?
in the world. He doesn't know what he wants to do now because he really had committed to being a teacher. And so he goes back to his home in Northern Ireland and he begins thinking about, what is he going to do next? And he keeps having this thought that he should pursue this thing that he's always been interested in, but he had never taken seriously because it felt so risky. But now that basically everything in his life had fallen apart, he had nothing to lose. So he decided, what the heck, I will do the thing that I've always wanted to do. And that was stage acting. And so he went and auditioned with a local theater company in Belfast. He was accepted.
I'm trying to think of who this guy is. Someone famous that cold cocked a student.
Hollywood filmmaker. And they cast him in a movie, and the rest, as they say, is history. William Neeson, better known as Liam Neeson.
Oh shit, dude.
Huge movies and TV shows.
Yo, someone pulled it. Yeah. Yo, that dude has a set of skills. You don't want to mess with them.
Or he is the CIA operative with a particular set of skills, and in this movie, he punches a lot of people in the face, just like when he was a teacher.
Oh, damn. That's messed up. Yo, if someone, yeah, no, what are you gonna do if someone pulls a knife on you? I mean,
he went over to his friend's house and he snuck a bottle of whiskey from one of their shelves. He pulled it out and he poured himself a full glass to the brim with whiskey, and then he downed it in one huge gulp. Tim had grown up idolizing cowboys on TV, and every time he watched them, they would come galloping into some town, they would go into the saloon, and they would sit at the bar just throwing back shots of whiskey. And so Tim always assumed whiskey must be this totally amazing, refreshing drink for these guys to be drinking it out in the heat of the desert. Unfortunately for Tim, after he slugged this huge glass of whiskey, it was not refreshing. It tasted like gasoline, and his chest felt like it was on fire.
Yeah, no
Instead
whiskey.
of being
Ugh.
turned off by
Ugh.
alcohol and waiting until he was older and of age to try it again, Tim instead thought, you know what? The next time I have whiskey, I just need to water it down a little bit. And so for the next year, Tim continued to periodically sneak whiskey out of his friends' cabinets, and he would drink this watered down whiskey. And then, when he turned 11 years old, his father, who he was
What?
very close with, died tragically in a car accident. And Tim really didn't have a good way to cope with the grief of losing his father. And
Sorry.
he turned
Nasal
to
spray.
drinking even more than he already was. And before long, Tim was like this young kid who basically was an alcoholic. But he hid it extremely well. He graduated high school, he graduated college, and really
Functioning
he was drinking
alcoholic as a child.
but after he
That's
graduated
sad.
college and he was living on his own in Michigan, there was no structure
Uh,
in place. Or
I can already
person
tell
in
who this
place
is. Michigan
to stop
Tim.
Tim from going overboard with his substance abuse. And so not only did his drinking get completely out of control, but he began using and selling drugs, namely cocaine. In 1978,
I definitely know who this
5
is.
years old, he and his drug dealing partner were scheduled to take part in the biggest drug deal of their careers.
They should make a movie about this.
Half of cocaine to a guy named Michael Piper.
Oh, you fucking prick.
$42,000, which, when you adjust
Damn
that
it.
for inflation, would be like buying it for $175,000 in 2021. Tim and his partner were very excited about all this money they were going to make, but they were equally worried about the transaction. A lot can go wrong. And so Tim decided, in order to mitigate their nerves and kind of make this a safer drug deal, he decided they would do the transaction inside of a public airport, because Tim had seen that done on TV and believed that was an additional layer of
hold
safety.
up.
And so on the day this deal is going to take.
I'm not a lawyer. Maybe someone can correct me. But doing let's say, any drug deal in an airport, if you get caught, is more of a charge than you would on some Joe Schmo street. Like, if you're on the side of a corner slinging rock or whatever the fuck you're doing, it's a big charge. You're probably gonna,
What's up at DQ?
Depending on your record, I'm assuming, the charge, I don't know if I want to use it. Damn it. Depending on how many charges you already have on your record, I'm assuming, yeah, like, even if you don't have anything, depending on what you're selling, you're going to do a lot of time. Again, drug dealing, not a thing to look up to. Why am I always on fire? Well, I at least get... Oh, I don't. What the fuck? This is bullshit. If he dies again, I'm going to be so fucking pissed. So yeah, dealing drugs, especially at an airport, I think is a higher crime. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not 1,000% sure. Fuck you, you're dead. Pop. Peace out. You prick. Can't afford for anyone to die. And I have no health, so I better get it. Oh, are you fucking with me? So yeah, I think selling in an airport is like a federal offense. I'm not 100% sure, but dealing drugs in the airport is probably a bigger charge than just normally dealing drugs at, let's say, out of a house that's not in a school district. I don't know. Someone let me know. But I definitely know. Tim, cocaine. I didn't know he was an alcoholic as a child. That's sad. Damn, I don't think I'm going to make it through this one.
Tim takes the pound-and-a-half of cocaine, he puts it inside of a brown Adidas gym bag, and he also throws a key lock inside of this bag. He shuts it up, he walks outside, he dumps the bag in the back of his car, and he drives to the Kalamazoo International Airport in Michigan. When he gets there, he parks in the big parking lot right outside of the front doors, and as soon as he's parked, he goes around to the back of his car, he pulls out this brown Adidas bag, he throws it over his shoulder, shuts his trunk, and then he waits for his partner to show up. A couple of minutes later, right on time, his partner runs into the lot, parks nearby, and then the two of them very casually begin walking towards the front doors of this airport. They walk up the steps, they go in the front doors, and as soon as they're inside, they're looking around, and they find Michael Piper. He's standing up against the wall right in the area he had said he would be. And so without making any sort of contact with Michael, Tim and his partner turn the corner and they go into a nearby locker room. Once they're inside, Tim pulls the lock out of the brown bag and then he puts the bag with the drugs in it inside of the locker. He shuts it and then uses the lock he just pulled out to lock the locker. And then he and his partner leave the locker room. As soon as they go out into the main terminal, they start walking over towards Michael Piper. And as they get closer and closer, Tim's partner breaks off and goes to a bench on the other side of the terminal. And Tim continues walking on right up to Michael. And then when he reaches Michael, he very discreetly hands him the key to the locker.
Shit.
And he tells him which locker number the drugs are in. Michael doesn't
Yeah, no.
and he heads off to the locker room.
Wait.
Tim turns and he goes over to his partner and he sits down on the bench and waits. Meanwhile, Michael goes inside the locker room. He uses the key. He opens up the lock. He opens the locker up. He checks to make sure the drugs are still there. They are. As soon as that's confirmed, he takes the bag, he throws it over his shoulder, and he walks back out to the main terminal to meet up with Tim and his partner. Tim and his partner are sitting on the bench. They see Michael coming out of the locker room, and they're expecting Michael to walk over and basically hand them a bag full of $42,000. But instead, Michael walks up to them and draws a gun and points it at them. He says, "I'm a police officer. You're under arrest." It would turn out this was a sting operation. Michael Piper, the undercover police officer, had been following around Tim and his partner for months. In Michigan at the time, if you were caught trying to sell 650 grams or more of cocaine, there was an
650 grams.
And Tim and his partner had just been arrested trying to sell more than 650 grams of cocaine. And so facing a life sentence, Tim took a deal that gave him a lesser sentence in exchange for information about other drug dealers. And so
oh, dude, he snitched.
4 months in a federal penitentiary before he was released. Tim would say his time in prison was absolutely miserable, but it was necessary. It matured him in a major way, and it honed his sense of humor. Tim was always a very funny guy. He was always the class clown and the guy goofing around. But in prison, he found it a very difficult task to get these hardened prisoners and prison guards to laugh at his jokes.
Dead.
But eventually, with enough practice and repetition, he could get anybody in that prison to laugh at him. And so by the time he got out, he was like an amazing comedian. And so he decided, you know what? Why don't I pursue a career in comedy? 4 years later,
fucker, stop!
As Tim Allen landed the starring role on the hit TV show Home Improvement. And from there, he starred in dozens more movies and TV shows, but he's probably best known for his voice acting.
I didn't know he ratted someone out.
Series Toy Story.
Fuck you. Well, that's my run for Classic. Didn't really turn out the way I wanted.
That Friday, we know your yoga routine is more than.
So, I don't know if playing ads in the background can get me in trouble. Not really sure. So that was a shitty fucking run. Probably times I should have blocked more. And that's my problem in every fucking game that I play.
So you don't miss a moment with the ones you
I also have to do something else I forgot about.
Or just walk in.
Love teaches us about pain, heartbreak.
Oh, I finished something for my,
It encourages us to do the small.
what the hell did I finish? I know it's not knocking out cabals. Oh, okay.
1964, during his final semester of college in Wisconsin, a 21-year-old man named Harry decided to take
Win 15 matches in normal survival
and he'd always been
survivor
shy,
mode.
so figured this class might be able to help him get over that. But this class wound up having a much larger.
Jeez, I feel like all I have to do here is
not only did he meet his future wife,
make gold and
he
silver.
also realized he loved acting, something he never thought he would like. And he decided after college that that was the thing he was going to pursue. And so after he graduates later that year, he and his girlfriend get married. They fly out to Hollywood, California, where Harry auditions for Columbia Pictures' New Talent Program, which is basically this program that's designed to help new actors and actresses get parts in Hollywood because it's so hard to do that. And so he's accepted into this program. He signs a contract with them that pays him almost nothing. And right away, they start.
I wonder if I can do this without equipment.
In TV shows and movies, but
fuck it.
Nobody is interested in Harry. Nobody. The only roles he was getting were incredibly minor and usually non-speaking, and so it was really not advancing his career. Then, in 1966, so 2 years after he and his wife
66?
Hollywood, Harry received what seemed like
Harry.
his first big
Harry.
He was offered a speaking role in a movie, although it was a very minor role. It was a 60-second bit where Harry basically walked on screen in this hotel, and he started calling out for a particular guest. And when he finds this guest, he walks up and gives him a piece of paper, and then he leaves. So it's a forgettable scene, but it's a real scene in a real movie. So this was a big deal for Harry. And so after Harry goes over to the studio and he films this whole scene and it's all done, he goes back over to the headquarters of the New Talent Program at Columbia Pictures. And as soon as he goes inside, one of the producers that was in charge of this New Talent Program, who had apparently had a chance already to see this 60-second scene in this movie that Harry was in,
60 seconds. That's it?
For a second. So the pair go up to his office, they both sit down, and the guy looks at him and says, "Look, I just got to shoot you straight here. You're not going to make it in Hollywood. You're not going to be."
Ouch.
When Tony Curtis was told to carry groceries across this room in one of his first movies, everybody knew right away, as he's carrying those groceries, that guy, he's going to be a movie star. You could see it in the scene, even though all he was doing was carrying groceries. And when you did your scene as the bellhop walking around the hotel, I just didn't see it. You don't have the X factor. You're not going to be a movie star. For reference, Tony Curtis, the guy this producer was referencing, was a huge movie star in the 1950s and 1960s. And so Harry, after getting this horrible comment made about him, he pauses for a second, and then he leans across the table and looks at this producer and squints his eyes and says, "You know, if Tony was such a good actor, shouldn't we have believed he was just a grocery delivery boy, not a movie star?" And at this totally smart aleck remark, the producer fired Harry on the spot. Harry would go on to sign a similar New Talent Program deal with Universal Studios, but again, he could not get a real part to save his life.
I mean, that makes sense though, right?
Harry, you're just not pretty enough, and you're not really that talented. By the mid-1970s,
What the
Harry
fuck?
was in his mid-30s, and while he still aspired to be an actor and wanted to be an actor, he was making almost no money from acting. And so he decided, instead of acting, he was going to become a carpenter. That was going to be his full-time job, despite the fact he knew nothing about carpentry. And so he literally, just because he has this interest in carpentry, goes to the library and checks out
Oh, you prick.
how to be a carpenter books. And over the next couple of weeks, he studies these books and does a couple projects around his own house. And then finally, he just felt confident enough, or he was just desperate enough for money, that he began going around to his network and asking people in Hollywood if they needed some woodworking, if they needed help from a carpenter. And surprisingly, lots of people took him up on his offer, and they hired him to be their carpenter. And before long, Harry was dubbed the Carpenter to the Stars, which was kind of ironic because he actually was not a very good carpenter, and he was regularly seen on the job, literally holding a book, teaching him how to be a carpenter while doing the carpentry with his other hand. In 1976, Harry was a full-fledged carpenter and had been for about a year when one of his very close friends named Fred Roos, who was a casting director and film producer, gave him a call and told him he had a very unique opportunity for him. Now, at this point, Harry was not looking for any more acting roles. He kind of figured that that ship had sailed, even though he wishes he could be an actor. At this point, he had a wife, he had 2 sons.
Oh, that's depressing.
So he's thinking, I'm going to just keep doing this carpentry thing because I got to pay the bills. So he says to Fred, I appreciate the offer of whatever this is, but if it has to do with acting, I'm just not interested. And Fred, who was one of the very few people in Hollywood who fundamentally believed Harry was destined to be a star, told Harry, no, this is different. This is not a pure go out and try out for the part and hope for the best. This is like put yourself in a good position and maybe somebody will discover you're as talented as you really are. And so Harry's like, okay, tell me about this opportunity, I'm interested. And so Fred explained there was this really talented and eccentric film director
I have no
who was
idea.
trying to cast an upcoming movie. And the way he went about casting for movies was a little bit strange. Instead of having each of the actors and actresses show up and individually audition for their parts, he would group batches of actors and actresses and he would have them audition as a group, because that way he could tell if there was chemistry amongst some of the actors and actresses and engage their individual talent. And so he had all these groups,
AKA screw 'em.
but one of the groups was missing one male actor. Somebody had dropped out at the last minute and was not going to be there on the day of the audition. And so when Fred Roos heard through the grapevine that this director was going to be short this one person, he immediately reached out to the director and said, hey, I got your guy. There's this guy, Harry. He's done a little bit of acting. He's incredibly talented. You've got to give him a chance. At the minimum, he can come in there and he can at least just read the lines and help you do this audition. But I know he's available that day. And
I can't guess on who the fuck this guy
so
is.
The director tells Fred, okay, thank you. I'd love to have him come down. But stressing
Harry.
him, he is not auditioning for any part in this movie. I'm not bringing in some person and just throwing them in. It takes me a long time to find people that I want to audition, and he is not one of them. He is just there to facilitate the audition. He's just going to read the lines so the other people in his group can do their audition. And so after Fred stopped explaining the situation, Harry was actually kind of annoyed. He was annoyed that Fred had basically already volunteered him, and so he couldn't really even say no without making Fred look bad. And he didn't like the idea that this was basically a waste of his time. He was being asked to go read lines, but not even try out. So how was this even an opportunity?
Yeah, but you get to meet new people, I
Worst
guess.
case scenario, you meet some pretty powerful people in Hollywood. This director's a big deal. The people there are going to be big deals in Hollywood. So you'll meet them, and maybe they will recognize your talent.
Might be
Or
fun.
maybe you get some new clients for your carpentry business. So no matter what, you get something out of it.
Right,
So
win-win.
Harry says, okay, fine, I'll go do this thing. And so Harry goes to this audition, he's handed the script, and he's
You
reminded
dick.
repeatedly to not attempt to audition. Don't try to act, just read the lines. I don't care if you're monotone, you just read these lines because you're not auditioning. Everybody else is, you're not. Is that clear?
That shit would piss me off.
I get it. I'm just reading the lines. And so Harry sits down and he starts reading the lines and he's trying to do what they told him to do, but the way he was actually feeling and his actual personality began seeping through. He started coming off as this really grumpy and sarcastic guy that just didn't care about anybody there. He was just totally bitter that he was in the situation he was in. Apparently, this is exactly what the director was looking for in one of the characters he was trying to cast. That kind of nonchalant, bravado, macho, alpha type guy who just didn't care about anybody. And so over the course of the day, as he's reading the script over and over again, not caring at all about how he's performing, he's just simply reading these lines and just being himself. He was actually doing this amazing job portraying one of the characters. And so they let Harry go the whole day. No one told him they were looking at him as a potential character. And then at the end of the day, when Harry was about to just throw the script in the trash and leave without talking to anyone, the film director, better known as George Lucas, walks up to Harry, better known
Oh,
as
shit!
I was wrong. You are perfect for this movie, Star Wars. You need to play Han Solo. So Harrison Ford said, all right, I'll play Han Solo. And that role as Han Solo propelled Harrison Ford.
Oh my, dude, fucking Indy?
A few years after Harrison had starred in Star Wars and he was this total A-list celebrity, he was at a Hollywood studio in one of their restaurants when one of the waiters walked over to him with the silver tray, and on this silver tray was a single business card. So Harrison reaches over, he grabs the business card, the waiter walks away, and he looks at the card, and handwritten on it is the phrase, "I missed my bet." And he flipped the card over, and it was the name of that producer from the new talent program.
Ha!
He called Harry into his office and said, "You're never going to make it in Hollywood, and you're fired." It was that guy, and he had apparently sent the waiter over to make amends because he was eating lunch in the same restaurant.
Yeah.
So Harrison would later say in interviews that at the time he got this card, and to this day, he was doing this interview, he said it gave him immense pleasure that when he looked up from this business card and he understood the situation, he knows this guy's in the room somewhere. As he looked around the room, he couldn't recognize the guy because he didn't know what he looked like. He was a nobody. And so instead of wasting any more time looking for this producer, he just looked at the card, chucked it, and went back to eating his lunch. So that's going to do it, guys.
Huh.
If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments
Good.
section what it is and where you found it. So
That's fucked up.
And if you're the first to do that, we'll pin you at the top of the comments section. If you got something
That's
out of today's
crazy.
episode and you haven't done this already, please replace the like button's Truth Bucks with Stanley Nichols. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly.
Imagine if Harrison Ford never showed up to that. Dude, that's a mind fuck right there, really. If you think about it. Like, if he was just like, I'm not going. Screw it. Or if he sat there and read for this part, right, all day, and they're like, we'd like to cast you, and he's like, yeah, go fuck yourself. I thought I wasn't an actor. I thought I'm just standing here reading. It wouldn't be him. There'd be a different Han Solo. There'd be a different Indiana Jones. If there would be an Indiana Jones, that would change the whole fucking future of so many fucking movies. I mean, granted, like, I didn't see the new Indiana Jones. I saw the Crystal Skull. I wasn't too fucking happy with it. I don't think Shia LaBeouf did a bad job. I don't blame him for it. I don't know. I don't know. Like, my favorite was Temple of Doom when I was a kid. And then Star Wars, like, the first 3 films, which I guess is what, 3, 4, 5 now? Whatever. I don't know how they want to go about it. I didn't like the ones that they made when I was like, when the Jar Jar Binks and whoever else. Like, I don't know. So now that they have new Star Wars stuff out, I don't give a shit. I tried watching the new one. The one the one that they made, following the story of, the originals, and I was just like, it's the same regurgitated shit almost. It wasn't for me. So why bother watching any of this? I'm not gonna waste my memory on this. I think I could do much better with the new story, new idea. Just regurgitating shit. You know what I'm pissed about? Haven't watched it yet. The prequel to Pet Sematary. Now, I had an idea since I was like 16, 15 for a prequel for Pet Sematary. I would have not based it around Timmy Baterman. I would have never based this. That's where I would end the movie, because then the rest. I would have went further back, but you know what? My ideas don't matter. They're shit apparently. So whatever. But no, yeah, I would have done it. It would have been more of a period piece. Like, how did it go sour? That's what people want to know. But again, I haven't watched it, so I really can't judge it. I'm kind of scared to watch it because it's like, oh, no. Just like I was like, Pet Sematary, the remake. I was like, dude, they're fucking with something that I love. So I immediately went into watching it thinking this is going to be fucking horrible. And honestly, it was not horrible. It was pretty good. I was surprised. So maybe I'll be surprised by the prequel. Again, it's probably not how I'd make it. Obviously, it's not how I would make it. It's all about Timmy Baterman. And from what I heard, it takes place during Vietnam when it was supposed to be World War II. That changes up the fucking timeline. So right there, it's kind of like, But anyways, I don't understand how I just whipped through that with silver cards Didn't die, but I got a badass classic team with great equipment, and I died at 14. That sucked. What a shitty run that was. So anyways, that's my video. If you like it, please leave a like. If you're new, subscribe, turn off those notifications. And shout out again to Mr. Ballen for letting me have his stuff playing in the background. I was about to say shit because I call everything, stuff shit, but it's not shit. It's good. I love his videos. So when I hit him up on Twitter, I was like, hey, do you mind if I just have your stuff playing in my background of my videos? I'll give you a shout out. I'm not going to hashtag him because I feel like that's just mooching off him. Because if anyone looks up Mr. Ballen, my shit's going to come. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. And, he said, yeah, go for it. Like, he responded to me, and that's, he's a real cool guy like that. He's never, anytime that I've asked him a question, he's always answered me. I think that's fucking cool. And I think that's a stand-up dude. Unlike Mr. Kevin Smith, can you please DM me? I mean, I don't know why you hearted something about a DM when you haven't DM'd me. I know you're busy. You're probably making a movie. You're probably doing something. But hey, I'm waiting. On that note, I'm out. Smith!